Hello all, it is time, so let's begin with today's session. I'll just share my presentation and let me know if you guys can see it. So I hope you can see my presentation. I'll just start. Welcome to week 8 of live interactions sessions for problem solving through programming in C. So let's just start with a quick recap of week 8. So we saw more concepts regarding functions in C. Then we did something regarding scope of a variable. So we can define variables globally, locally, inside a function, inside main or inside some loop. So we saw how we can do that and what happens when we do each, when we use each type. And then function prototype. So how do we predefine a function? So instead of defining a function a priori, I'll write main first, but before writing the main, I'll just let my compiler know that I'm going to define the function by writing one line on top. And then we saw call by value and call by reference. So call by value is basically the function just takes the value of the variable, not the reference. A reference is address. So if anything happens to that value inside the function, as long as it is not returning or it is not getting reassigned, the value in the main will not change. But in the case of call by reference, that is only true for arrays. So for all other variable types like int, float and all, I mean for singular variable types, they are mutable. So I mean for them only the value is necessary, but for arrays we use call by reference. I mean that is how the compiler works. But this is not the same with other languages, so keep that in mind. And then yeah, so call by reference, and hence we saw what happens when we pass an array and make some changes in that function itself to the array. So I'll just start with this. So yeah, so first task is I want the output of this. So it's more or less, it's just give me a minute. Okay. So yeah, I want the output of this code. It is somewhat straightforward. I have a function called void swap. It's void, so it's not returning anything. Its return type is void. Okay, so what we write here before the name of the function, it is its return type, what it will return. Okay, so its return type is void, so it's not returning anything. And then so I don't have to explicitly write return 0 or whatever. And for main as well, I can skip this line and change it to void main. Okay, so it's up to me. So I have inputting two variables a and b, as I mean I have declared them as 5 and 6. So just go through this code. I'll give you 3 minutes and post a question on polls, and you just have to choose the right answer. Okay. Maybe I'll cut short the time by 2 minutes because this, I mean, so you can see here what this function does, right? I have just called it swap. So the time is up, and I have launched a poll. So I hope you can see that poll asking for the answer. So you please vote there. I hope you can access the poll. I have given. Okay, I'm starting to get votes. I have also unfreezed the. I have unfrozen the chat, so you can also write something in the chat if you want. So yeah, I have gotten some votes. So most of you are correct. The answer should be 5656. So we just talked about scope of variables. Okay, so this is, so inside this, so I'm passing A and B here. So first I'll just print the values that they have, that is 5 and 6. So they are being printed. Then I send them to this function called void swap. Okay, so void is not return, this swap function is not returning anything. So x is a, right, because first variable is x, second variable is y, and likewise I have passed a first and b second. So x is a, y is b. Inside this function, x and y have swapped their values, right? X and y have swapped their values. So x that was 5 before has now become 6, y that was 6 before has now become 5. So if I put this printf statement here inside this function and I replace a with x and b with y here, I hope you can see my mouse, yeah. So that way I'll print 6 and 5 because x has now become 6 and y has become 5. But the scope of x and y are within the swap function. So they are not affecting the real values of a or b. So a and b remain as is, and I'll still, and so a is still 5 and b is still 6. So I'll skip writing this code here on the compiler because I mean it is kind of straightforward. So yeah, so we'll just go to the next question. So yeah, so we'll start easy and it will slowly get a little more challenging. Okay, so yeah, just check one thing. So next one is it's also about functions. So here, yeah, how many times will high get printed? So I have defined a function prototype of fun. It's called fun, int fun, and the actual function definition is here. Okay, so its job is to just print high. That is the job of the function. And I have this main here, so main starts here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Fourth line is where main starts and it ends 4 lines later. Okay, so how many times will high get printed? So this is also easy. I'll give only 3 minutes for this. I have started the timer, but before I start, okay, wait, it's clear. So yeah, you can ask doubts later. Teja, okay. So hi will not be printed, only hello will be printed because the value is indeterminate and the loop won't execute. Okay. That is more or less correct. So we'll just see. So we'll just quickly write this code once and just make sure that everything is in place. So one thing that we can see that int I has been defined globally. Okay. So one more peculiar thing about this code is that that I have called main inside main. Okay, so that is not actually allowed. So like one of the people suggested, like Tejaswini said, only hello will get printed and hi will not get printed. So this I, since I am not assigning it any value, by default it will take the value as 0. So if I write while 0, that means the condition is false and it will not execute the, I mean it will not enter the while loop. So that is why only hello will get printed. So this whole thing is so, but if I assign this, let's say 1, so now, so like you can see on my screen that it's printing infinite times and I have stopped it, I will get a runtime error. Okay, so you saw what happened, right? If I give I1, so I is taken to be by default 0. So that is what, and it's been defined globally, and for some reason even main is being called inside main. So and it will not stop until the this stack is reached, the stack overflows. Okay, so Yeah, so let's quickly move on to the next question. Yeah. Okay, so this was this. Yeah, so and again, what is the output of the function? Give me a minute. I'll log the chat. I have logged the chat because I want other people to try it as well. So what is the output of the function? If 4 minutes to solve, and so yeah, there is no function here. It's I'm talking about scope of variables here. So I misnamed this, so just don't mind that. I have launched the polls and I have already gotten 2 votes. So I'll wait for 10 more seconds for others to vote. Then we'll just jump straight to the explanation. Chat is unblocked again. So yeah, has anyone else voted? Okay, no one else has voted. So whoever voted right. So it's 4 5 times. Tejaswini, do you have something to say? You can unmute yourself and okay, wait. Okay, fine. So I have defined int I here, so I didn't give it any value, and I'm running this loop from 0 to 5, sorry 0 to 4 because it is I less than 5 and I plus plus. Inside the loop I am defining I again int I. So this I and this I in the for loop I, they are not the same i's. Okay, this I is for the main and this I is just for the loop. So whatever happens inside the loop, it is defined by this. So it's 4 here, I is 4, I print I do I plus plus. So this I has become 5, okay, and then loop is run again. So this I has become 1, okay. So this I was 0, this I has become 1, this I has become 5, but I redeclared I here as 4, okay. So it became 4 again. So 4, 5, 4, and this will, of course, it will run like 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So 4 will get printed 5 times, okay. So, and I will not be writing this code for obvious reasons, okay. Yeah, so now there is something for you guys to code. Will again block the chat for this because I don't want people to write whole codes in the chat. I mean, they'll write the code, copy it and paste it on the chat, so I don't want you guys to do it. So once it will be done, I'll just ask one of you to, I mean, if you want to explain what you've done, just the logic, not the whole code, okay. So yeah, so you have to write a C program to take the input as an array of integers, find the mean of the elements using a function. So you have to write a function that finds the mean, okay. And yeah, of course, user will also have to define the size of the array. So you have to appropriately take care of that. Then modify the array in a way that all the elements are their absolute differences with the mean using another function. So absolute difference means, so like I have 2 and 5. So the absolute difference between 2 and 5 is 3. So if I write 2 minus 5, I should get 3 and not minus 3. I want the positive value. So I just want to know that how far each element is from the mean, okay. So I'll get a spread, how spread apart my values are, okay. And this you have to write one more function to do that, and you don't have to create any new array, okay. So that array itself will get modified. So you have to when you take the array input, do one thing, just print the array saying this was the array, and then when you modified the it in a function, just write this is the new array and then just give the output. So and yeah, print the array on the main function, okay. So you can't modify it in a function there itself and just print it there. You have to print it in the main function. So sample input is here. So this is my array 10, 11, 14, 17 and 22. So it has 5 5 elements, and average of this is uh, 10, 21, 21, 35, 35, 52, 52, 74, 14.8. Okay, so 14.8 is the average. So 10 is 4.8 away from 14.8, 17 is 2.2 away from 14.8. Okay, so this is what I need as my output. And you can also write one more line that you can print the mean itself, the mean as well. So the mean is so and so, 14.8. Okay, so I'll give you 10 minutes to do this. Do you firstly, do you have any doubts with like what to do exactly, or I mean, to decrease the possibility of that, I have also given a sample input and a sample output. So I hope it should be clear regarding what you have to do. If you have any doubt, just you can unmute yourself and ask. Else, I'll just start the timer. Okay then. The time is up. I hope you were able to give it a go. So, has anyone done it? You can raise your hands if you were able to write that, else I'll just start. Okay then. So, okay, I hope the screen is visible again. Yeah. So, I'll change this to, let's say, find average int so it has to be float because average will be a floating point number, and then I will so ARDist is the function I'll use to see how distributed my elements are. Okay, so I'll that one is int, this one is float. So I'll just keep this as float, because if my mean will be a float most likely, and what I want to do is this whole thing will be a float. Okay, so I will just int a 20 is the max size, so n is the size, and then so yeah, I'll change its type later, because I mean so this is still int a. Float x, so x is the mean here, I just call it x. I'll just call it average float. So then so I want the size. For it's and n, and then So okay, so yeah. Yeah, fine. So now I have to write a function about, of finding the mean. So I'll change this to float and find avg int a. I think I can just write int a. I don't have to write this. I'll just check. Nothing in chat. Okay. So float find average int a. So I also need the size int n. Right. So now I have the. So how do I find the average? Sum by. So I'll just write int sum and float average. Okay. So this is what I'll return. Okay. So int sum equals 0. I'll initialize this to be 0. Then for int I equals 0, I less than n, I plus plus. Instead of n, I've changed it to size because it will be less confusing that way for the reader. So the reader will know that this first element is the array and second one is the size. Okay. So I'm doing typecasting here because so I was unsure whether sum will be in brackets or float, but yeah, I think it will be float that will be in brackets. So yeah, so I can instead of defining a variable called average, I can just write return here and I'll be done. Okay, but I'm not doing that. So since I've defined this, and now I can just write return average. Okay, so this is done. Now what next? So now I have to define this function to see how distributed, so how close my elements to the mean are. So I'll just write void because it's not returning anything. or I can like not write word and also write return 0, so it's all up to me. Even here I need to define the size, of course, right, and x is my mean. Just write mean here. So yes. So one thing to note here is air by itself it is an int, okay, but I want to change it to float. So how do I do that? So first I'll just try writing and see what happens, but since it's an int I can't exactly make it a float, okay. So and I can't just assign it float values. It will just cut it off, and so let's see what happens when we do that. Okay, so again use so I'll traverse the array. So this I used to traverse the array. So now I'll change it to arr I. Okay, so ABS is a function that will just return the absolute value, but I'm not sure if I need math.h for that, so I'll just make it more simple and write an if statement. I'll just say if arr I is less than mean, yeah, is less than mean, then I'll just write arr I equals mean minus arr I. So instead of less than, I'll make it less than or equal to, because it will also include that equal to condition, else so this is done. I'll just now check if it runs or not. Okay, so wait, I will make some more changes here. So I don't have to print this. I said that you can write one more code to print this. So yeah, okay, I might as well write. The array initially. Just copy this. Right, now I'll find the mean, so I can just write avg equals, so this one was called find average. So find average r and n. Okay, so I had called it a, right? Yeah, a and n. So and then I will call this function as well, arrdist, and what is the order? So first I will pass, here am I using ARR, so I will change this to ARR. Yeah, so where was I? Yeah, A average and then n. Okay, and now I'll write final printf statement. So since it's an array, it is passed by reference, so whatever changes I make here, it will get reflected in the main, in the actual array. Okay, even if I'm not returning the value as is, whatever changes I make, they should get reflected. Okay, so I'll just run. There is an error, right? So conflicting, find average, float, find average, int. So what is the problem here? N is undeclared. Okay, so yeah, I made a small mistake here. I changed to size, no? Okay. Again, there is an error. So it was called find average, right? Yeah. Yeah, so this, I had not mentioned this, so I have to mention that it's an array, else it will just assume that it's just a singular integer. So size 5. Okay, elements of the array I had what, 10, 11, 14, 17 and 22. 10, 11, 14, 17, 22. So what happened here? 4.8, what I wanted, that became 4, 3.8 became 3, 0.8 became 0. So it just converted all the possible floats to ints. Okay, so why did that happen? Because array itself, this array is an int, right? So I'll try to make a small change. Okay, wait, first I'll print the mean is percentage point to f ag. Okay, so the mean will also get printed. So how can I change it in a way that I get what I want? Okay, so no comments, fine. Very few people in the meet now. Anyway, so one way to do it, I can change the whole array to float. Okay, so but that will defy what I stated in the beginning, saying that you have to take it as int. So I can typecast the whole thing, and then also I'll get. So I'll just try to change the type here. So and even here I would have to float it. But even now I'm not sure if it will get printed or not. One thing I can do is I can just float this as well. And yeah, here one major mistake I made was I printed it as a percentage D instead of percentage F. So that is one more mistake. Just run it. Okay, so I can't typecast it here. Left operand of an assignment. Okay, I'll try to remove this. So it says the mean is 14.8, but it is still, since this itself is an array, sorry, is an int, it is giving me value like this. So it's converting it to int here later. Okay, so how do I make it float now? That is the question, right? So So, like I said, one way is to change the whole array to float, but that is not viable. And even if I create an array here saying float like some array, some temp array, and assign its value to this, and then reassign. So see, it says temp is local. Okay, it says temp is local here, and then I'll run this again for I equals 0, I less than size, I plus plus, and then ARR I equals temp I. But since this one is int, I can't actually, and yeah, this typecasting can only be done left of the, I mean, sorry, what is that called? To the in the right hand side, not left hand side. Okay, so do this again. Errors, more errors. I is undeclared. Okay, I'll declare I again. Oh yeah, this was meant only for the this thing anyway. 5. So again, it only gives me this. So since typecasting can't be done in the left hand side, and I'm passing it as integers. Okay, so I can't actually change the values, but so I'll be better off if I do everything in the main and then typecast it. Okay, so if I do float here and I remove this, I do return. Yeah, so now the problem will arise. I can't, can I return this? So let's see if I can return this. I can't return this because returning type was float star, but float was unexpected. So yeah, I can't return whole arrays. Okay, so I'll get back to you on this one. Okay, uh, we'll just not spend more time on this. We'll go to the next one. So even this one, so what is the output of the following code? I have a void function here, right, int n and int sum. This, yeah, this you should use. I mean, yeah, it's I am recursively calling it. Okay, so I'm calling this func inside it. So I'll give you 6 minutes to attempt it, and then you can answer in the polls. Just read this carefully. Okay, just just look at it carefully. Okay, it's void, so it's not returning anything. So just keep that in mind. That's a hint. The time is up. I have launched a poll, so you guys can just answer there if you were able to solve it. And in the meanwhile, I also typed the code, so I'll stop presenting this. To save time, I just typed the code beforehand. I mean, while you guys were solving it. So yeah, the code is same as what you saw. I'll just run it and we'll see what happens. So 45027. Okay, so I'm not exactly reversing the number here. I'm just printing its digits one after the other, and I'm printing 0. Why am I printing 0? It is because this is a void function. Okay, so sum is getting added. So sum inside the function is sum of the digits. Okay, it is not sum of the digits, it is a reverse of the number, right? Sorry, no, it is just sum of the digits. Okay, sum here is just sum of the digits, but I'm not returning that sum. Okay, so that sum is not being returned, and scope of this is just inside this function, and since it's void, this sum is unchanged, although when it enters it is 0. So it's being just called by its value and it's not being returned, so this sum remains 0, so hence the last one will be 0. And why did we get 45027 and not the reverse? So you can see that it's being called recursively. So let's go line by line. So first I have initialized k and j as 0, right, and n is the number itself. So okay, so I think I missed one line here maybe. Anyway, did I miss a line? I don't seem to have missed a line. So anyway, oh right, okay, fine, it doesn't matter. So yeah, so I start with 45027 and k0 j0, right. So one condition to exit the function, not one condition, the only condition is when n becomes 0. Okay, so that is when I'll exit the function, when n becomes 0. Okay, so then I'll return. Else, if this is not true, I don't actually need to write else, because if it is true, then I'll just skip all this. Okay, so I don't have to write else. So yeah, k is here, j, and k is the last digit of the number. Okay, that's what it means by percentage 10. So when I divide that with 10, what will I get? So k is now 7, right, because 7 is the last digit, and j, since j is an int, n is also an int, j is not 4502.7, it is just 4502. So I have just removed the last one, and sum is sum plus equals k. So sum is currently 7. I then input this in the same function. Okay, so I keep doing this. So at one point, so then j, so at one point j will become 0. Okay, I mean since j is getting cut each time by one digit, so it was 4, so it became 4502, then it became 450, then it became 45, then 4, then when j was 4, then I did j by 10, it became what did it become? It became 0, right? 4 by 10 is 0. So then this condition got satisfied within this function. Okay, so now n is basically j. J for this is n for this is basically j. When this got satisfied, at that time the value of j was 4. Okay, so it got satisfied. So then it came back to this. So how do I? It would have been better if I drew. Okay, so each time I'm entering. Then when I exit the first time, I come here. I'll print this. Okay, I'll print 4. Then I'll come out again. I'll print 5. I'll come out again. I'll print 0. Then 2. Then 7. So this explanation was a little shady. I'll try to explain again. So first, my k is, so this thing is being called inside each one. Okay, as long as this is not true, it's been done, and once this is over, the function is over. It's either over here or here. Okay, so when I reached 4, this j became 0, and it and this became false, and then it went to the next line within that call of the function. So okay, so that call was when j was 4, so it printed 4. I mean, yeah, then it goes to the function that called it. So at that time j was 45 and k was k was also so k is the n for that function was 45, not j. N for that function was 45, so k is 5, and j doesn't matter because I am done with this anyway, right? So now I'll print 5. Then that call has ended. So I'll go to the previous call now, which is, just a minute. Yeah. So for that previous call, I am now there with 450. So k is 0. I'll print it. Then I'll go to the previous call, that is the actual second call, 4502, k is 2. Then I'll come back to the first call and I'll print 7. So now when all these calls have been printed, I'll come back to the main function because this is finished. Sum is unchanged because we are doing call by value. So that is why 0 has been printed at the end. Recursion itself is slightly tricky to grasp. So you guys just think about it again. Okay, try to do it line by line. So just take a pen and a paper, write this function and try to print each time, okay, what value you will get, and you will understand. Okay, so just keep that in mind. And next question is also about recursion. So yeah, so I hope the screen is visible again. I have this this factorial finding function. I want to know how many times is factor being called or executed. Okay, so this is, I think I'll give you 3 minutes for this in view of time. Okay, so I'll pose the question and you guys can answer. So like you can see that factorial is one example where we use recursion, and you will have to use recursion also in your assignments. I mean, I saw your assignments, you have to find power, you have to find GCD. So those things you have to do using recursion. There was one more, I forgot what that was. So you have to just find out how many times does this get called, that's all. Not find out, think. So just keep in mind case 7, okay, in this question. I have created the poll now itself so that you guys can, I mean, the people who have done have answered. And yeah, I am not giving you 5 minutes, I am only giving you 3 minutes. I have gotten mixed responses, so let's just see carefully what the answer might be. Okay, so case 7, I'm calling factor. So I'm calling factor here in the main on k. Right, so k enters this, n here is basically k. Okay, so n is 7, I'll enter. If n is 0, I'll return 1. Return 1 as in the value I'll return is 1, the value. Okay, it's not like exit 0 and exit 1. So the value I return is 1, else if it is not 0, I'll do n into factor of n minus 1. Okay, and factor of n minus 1 is factor of 6, which is nothing but 6 into factor of 5. So 7 into 6 into this will get called how many times? This will get called 7 times. Okay, so till it becomes 0. So this is 7 into 6 into 5 into 4 into 3 into 2 into 1 into 1. Okay, 1 into 1. So when it is 1, it will do 1 into factor of 0, right? So this is being called 7 times, plus I'm calling it once in the main. Okay, so the answer is 8. So whoever answered 8 is correct. So yeah, now let's go for the final task of the day. So I hope you know what is Fibonacci sequence. So if you don't know, I'll just write it here. So each number is the sum of its previous two numbers. Okay, so if 1 is the first number, I'll write 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, like that. Okay, so yeah, most of you know what it is. So 1 plus 1 is 2, 1 plus 2 is 3, 2 plus 3 is 5, 3 plus 5 is 8. So you have to write a function that calculates the nth number, and it does it recursively. Okay, so you have to call that function inside. I'll give you 10 minutes to do that. Okay, I will start the timer. I hope you didn't already do this. I don't remember clearly whether it was done in whether the same function was done in class or not. Okay, so if it was done in class, then it will be very easy. But I request that you don't look at anything and do. Otherwise, it's all fine, I guess. So just keep at it. I will. 2 minutes because a lot of participants have left. So I'll quickly code it. So it's an integer. I'll call it fib, or I'll call it fibo, and input is int. Okay, I'll define it later. So printf nth element in the sequence is, right. Okay, I can't say nth because int n, I'll take the value first, enter n, scanner, right. So I can't write nth. Element at in the sequence is %d. So first is n, second is fibo n. Okay. So now I'll write fibo int so basically if n less than or equal to 1, return 1, else return so 0th element is 1, first one is also 1. Okay. So this is the code, that's all. I'll take the value of n, let's say it is 5. So 16. So 1 1, wait, 1 1 2 3 5. Okay, so there is a small mistake here for some reason. I'll run it again. 2 1 1 2. So this is correct. 3 4. So this is wrong because so why is it saying 4? Does the series start from 0 or 1? Let's say the series starts from 1. So 1 1 1 1 2 3. It's up to me actually. So why is it returning this? It's okay. So there should not be an else. Oh yeah, then it will not go there, right? Sorry, there should not be an else here. It will not go there. 3. Again, it's saying 4. Oh, sorry, this should be n minus 2. Oh, God. Made a very small mistake. Yeah, so 1, 1, 2. Okay, so then 1, 1, 2. So 0th one is, yeah, sorry. Someone had asked, right? Yeah, Pavan. Okay, so Pavan, I think Pavan has left. Anyway, sorry, Shreya Prasad, yeah. So series starts from 0. 0th element is 0. Okay, first element is 1. Second one is also 1. Right, so if I change it to, so now if I say something called 6. Yeah, 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8. Okay, 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8. So sixth one is correct. And then if I, let's say 9, I should get 34. So 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13, 13 plus 8, 21, 21 plus 13, 34. So this is correct. So one more thing I had mentioned in the question is one more thing I had mentioned in the question was comment on its efficiency. Okay, comment on its efficiency. So I have, let's say I have some big number instead of, okay, yeah, I'll keep it as 9. So I'm doing FIBO n minus 1 and FIBO n minus 2. So I need 7 and 8. Okay, but when I'm trying to get 8, I already got 7. But here I'll calculate 7 again. So let's not say 9, let's work with 3. Okay, so for 3 I need 2 and 1. Okay, and for 2 I need 1 and 0. So I already know the value of the first element, but since I'm calling it again as FIBO for 1, I'm calculating it again. So if I had a way to store the values, so if I had a way to store the values of 0 to 7 here, then I'll not have to calculate it twice. Okay, so if I could store the values in a way, I'll not have to calculate it twice. So this is not actually very efficient. Using recursion here is not really that efficient. So so it's 9. Okay, so to get 9 I need 7 and 8. Okay, so I'll just try to draw a tree. I'll just stop sharing this. I'll share this again. So it will make it a little more clear. Okay, I hope you can see my screen. Insert. So to get to 9, right? So I'll just paste it a lot of times. I need 7 and 8. For 9, I need 7 and 8. 8 and 7. And for 8, I need 7 and 6, right? For 7, I need 6 and 5. So I already have these, right, we'll use a smaller number here, we'll use 4, right, 4, 3 and 2, 2 and 1, 1 and 0. Okay, I need 3 and 2. So first I'll tackle this, right? I have 4, I need 3 and 2. So first I am calling FIBO of n minus 1, then I am doing n minus 2. So first I entered n minus 1. So for 3 I need true and 1, and for 2 I need 1 and 0, right? For 2 I need 1 and 0. So I got 1, I got 0, so I got 2, and I have the value of 1 again. So for 0 and 1 the value is 0 and 1, so that I am returning as is. Then with true and 1 I get 3. Okay, so 3 I have. Now I'll go to FIBO of n minus 2, that is 2. Then to calculate 2 I'll use 1 and 0 again and get 2. But here I know the 2 from this already, but even though I have calculated it once, since I am not able to access it again, I am having to calculate it again. So it is actually doubling my effort. So if I had a bigger number here, instead of 4 I had some 6 or 7, so I'll have like long trees in left and the right side. So this value I know from here already, but still I'll have to calculate this again. So if let's say I have 6 here and 5 here, or we'll just continue with that 8 and 7, right? 7 and 6. So I got 7. So to reach to 7 I need to get 6. Okay, so 6 I know from here, but still when I come back here I'll calculate 6 from scratch, from 1. So from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'll waste a lot of effort here, and then when I get to 8 I'll go here and see what is 7. 7 I calculated it from here, but I'll recalculate it again. So I'll recalculate it. So I'm wasting effort. So this way of doing is not actually very, this approach is not really efficient because I'm wasting steps. Okay, so I hope this was clear. I hope you were able to understand the code. Okay, so we'll stop the class here. If you have any doubts you can ask, or else I'll just end the meeting. Okay, so no doubts. Have a good day. Bye.